Wonderful. Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Happy Saturday morning, and here in Nelson, and it's getting a little bit better. Spring's definitely here. I was kind of surprised. We just went to our land yesterday, and most of the snow is all gone, which is great. I guess the rain's been melting and stuff, which is good. But also means that I've got a lot of work I have to do on the land next month when I come back. We have to insulate and fix up our yurts and start getting our foundation for a house put in. Lots of work every summer, lots of work once the snow melts here. So we will continue on our class on refuge and emptiness and BuddhaNature and all these wonderful topics. We just started last week talking about refuge, so we'll continue that a little bit. And today we'll talk about the 8 qualities of Buddhahood, 8 qualities you get when you get enlightened. I'd like to start today when we sort of get meditating on just doing, I'm just going to cycle back and forth between visualizations, meditations with Lama Chopa, Ganden, Gyema, and also with Jorcho. So we'll do this today, the LamRim Jorcho tree, Refuge Tree, which I like doing. So again, this is the one, I've got a bigger one, but this one's small enough to show you on the screen. And again, we have the central figure, Buddhist Akimoni, and Vajradhara is at his heart here. This is the central refuge tree, or sort of the main visualization you do when you do sutra teachings, when you do LamRim or anything like that. And of course, yeah, this is Maitreya here, right here, and then along here are the lineage gurus of Vast Path, of compassion, and Jishri's on this side, the emptiness guru, so to speak. This is kind of funny how they've done it here. That's supposed to be Vajradhara at the top, and then Manjushri, and then this is supposed to represent the tantric lineages. There's not very many of them. They've got Tsongkhapa and his 2 students here, and then once, I don't know who that is. Anyway, not too sure. Depends on the artist. And then, of course, here's your root teacher. They put Tsongkhapa, but also you put your root teachers here. And then the 4 classes of Tantra. And this is, what is this? Supposed to be 1,000 universal Buddhas here, and our hats, bikinis, and so forth, and protector beings at the bottom. So that's what we're going to be visualizing in a few minutes here. Just wanted to show everybody. Okay, so let's, thanks for coming, and let's take a moment to just sort of settle our minds here. And I will recite the Heart Sutra, as always, just sort of clear any obstacles and make sure that our view for today's class is always on emptiness. Okay. Homage to perfection, wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir and Mass Vulture's Mountain. The great assembly of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection wisdom, looking perfectly also at the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly at the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty and emptiness is form. Emptiness is none other than form. Form is none other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. Do not produce and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so forth, up to no mentality element, and also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing under beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas who reside perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest, complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, equal to the unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. Mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayata Om Gada Gada Paragada Parasamgadi Bodhisoha. Shariputra Bodhisattva, great being, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that constellation and said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, that he'd spoken well. Good, O son, and just like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, so let's just sort of get comfortable here, and we can start with our 9-point breathing breaths. So 3 breaths out the right nostril, getting rid of a desirous attachment and so forth. 3 breaths out of the left nostril, anger, reactivity, frustration, and so forth. And 3 breaths, relaxed breaths through both nostrils. And then on the final inhalation, holding the breath at the navel, just a little bit below the navel, mixing your mind, your prana, and your breath all together. And when it becomes uncomfortable, just release. We'll just 3 times, 3 sets of 9-point breathing just on our own time here. It's just people finish here. I can just sort of get started just as you ease into it, our meditation. Okay. So when you're ready, you can start visualizing yourself seated in a wide open space. Beautiful ground like lapis, and beautiful dome of a blue sky above us. And we're surrounded by all sentient beings, the six realms, so our mother on our left, father on our right, people we love the most behind us as support, and people we like the least or have issues with in front of us as objects of our practice. Surrounding us are people from all over the world, all humans, animals from all different ecosystems from all over the world, countless spirit beings in the spirit world, astral, ethereal realms, celestial beings, gods and demigods, sort of a smaller number of them, and then vast numbers of beings in lower states of rebirth. We can think of hell beings and hungry ghost beings. Everybody happy to be here all together. And in the space in front of us, beautiful blue sky, we're seeing a beautiful vision appear out of pure light. Just like the reflection in a mirror on the surface of a lake. And I think first of all, we have a beautiful tree arising out of Lake Manasarovar, Refuge Tree. Just gigantic, filling the sky, made out of pure light or energy. Again, like a big oak tree or banyan tree or whatever one you want to visualize. And in it is the Jorcho LamRim Refuge Tree and refuge objects, all the different beings, the field for the accumulation of merit. So the central figure is this time Buddhist Akimoni, and he's like a big harvest moon, surrounded by all the other Buddhas and light beings in the tree, just like stars and constellations or the Milky Way around the moon. So Buddhist Akimoni is in the middle, and he's in the way we usually visualize. He's wearing the three robes of a monk in lotus position, with his left hand holding begging bowl from the snow nectar at his lap, and his right hand touching the earth with the subduing mudra, palm open. And then at his heart is his higher Sambhogakaya, or enjoyment, or beatific, or angel body form. It's a divine couple, Vajradhara and Vajradhatu Ishvari. And they have beautiful dark blue colored bodies like sapphire, wearing crowns and silks and jewelry and so forth in sexual embrace. So he has he's in lotus position with his two arms crossed around her back, holding a bell in his left hand and a dorji in his right hand. And she straddles him and has her arms around his neck, holding a skull cup with medicinal nectar in her left hand, and right hand holding the chopper knife, a curved knife. And you can even visualize, if you want to go a little deeper, just between there at the heart level, between them is a blue hum letter, H-U-M, in the Tibetan or Sanskrit form, if you'd like to visualize that, representing the Dharmakaya, or the Buddha's enlightened mind. And that's softly radiating 5 rainbow colors. So white, yellow, red, green, and blue. Now at our left, or Buddha's right, is Buddha of loving kindness and compassion, Buddha Maitreya, our future universal Buddha. And he's in Bodhisattva form in lotus position, golden colored body, holding 2 white lotuses, wearing a crown and silks, and very, very beautiful. And around him are all men and women, all people that have taught the vast path of Buddha's teachings of compassion, bodhicitta. And for the view of emptiness, we can think that it's also the view of the mind-only school, the Yogacara school of emptiness. So we can feel that Arya Sangha and Vasubandhu and great gurus like that are around Maitreya. And then on the other side, our right, or Buddha's left, is Manjushri in the same form as Maitreya is, Buddha of wisdom. He's in Bodhisattva form in lotus position, the mudra of turning the wheel of Dharma at his heart, holding the 2 white lotuses. And he's surrounded by people that have taught the wisdom teachings of the Buddha, the profound path teachings on wisdom realizing emptiness, in particular the Madhyamika, our middle way school of emptiness. And we can think Arya Nagarjuna, Aryadeva Chanakirti, Buddha Palita, all these great gurus are there. Now, behind Buddhist Akimoni, we can visualize just solo Vajradhara. He's by himself, representing sort of the tantric lineages taught by Buddha as Vajradhara. And so Vajradhara is in lotus position, holding a dorje and bell, and is dark blue, sort of sapphire blue color, made out of energy, with the crown. And around him are all people that have taught the tantric paths, Vajrayana teachings of Buddhism. Now, below Buddhist Akimoni, we visualize our root teacher and all of our spiritual teachers of this life. Anyone that's taught us the Dharma or correct spiritual paths. And then kind of like little rows or bleachers, are almost like they're in an auditorium. We can visualize all the other holy beings here, light beings. So Buddhas of the 4 classes of Tantra, the Buddhas of the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate aeon, 16 arhats, dakinis in 24 places, 16 offering goddesses, many Dharma protectors and Dhammapalas and so forth. Just kind of like the rest of the gang, so to speak. All the other Buddhas and light beings and Bodhisattvas are here, different dakinis and angels. So it's a big Christmas tree of lights and sort of toys and beautiful things, making everyone very happy and blissful to look at. And the central figure, of course, we can focus on, like a big, beautiful moon, is Buddhist Akimoni. So taking refuge, we can just go I and all sentient beings into achieve enlightenment, call refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Just from our heart, taking refuge in the 3 jewels. And setting good intention, bodhicitta. We go through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections. Maybe become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So anything we do with the 6 perfections there, so giving, moral discipline, patience, joyous effort, concentration, wisdom, all this sort of part of our Buddhist path helps us generate bodhicitta and expresses our bodhicitta to get enlightened. So we have a correct intention there. So once we've done that, we can feel beautiful sort of white light is coming down, blessing all the beings around us. So we're getting light, but also we can feel just streams of white energy going into our body in particular. Wonderful white nectar. And again, this white light is dispelling all the shadows and darkness and negative energy and sort of stuck chi and blockages and obscurations of ourself and all the beings around us here. And for us, we're getting all the nectar as well. And this nectar is just sort of completely clearing out all of our negativities. So again, all this darkness and bad energy and so forth is all getting sort of flushed out of us, all sentient beings. And all of our bodies are becoming crystal clear and clean. Sort of light and subtle, like made out of lighter energy. Now the lights and energies become a golden color like sunlight. So it's like a sunbeam coming down into us. And this is sort of the empowerment or virtue energy. So first of all, the purification, second of all, the merit. Getting rid of obscurations and negatives, things holding us back, and then sort of giving us a power boost or energy boost to be positive and virtuous and to open our hearts. So first the clouds are chased away on a sort of dark, rainy day, and then the sun comes out. And you can just sort of feel that. And all of our bodies here and all sentient beings are all sort of glowing gold. On the 4 immeasurables, we can go, may everyone be happy, and everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. So getting the golden lighter energy coming down at our heart, and then sort of making a big bubble going outwards to all sentient beings, blessing them, again with love, which means wanting them to be happy, compassion, not wanting them to suffer, joy, joy of nirvana, in particular, full enlightenment, And sort of never sort of being sad, but also like I always like this one sort of the Nietzschean angle of joy being an affirmation, positive energy or positive power, creativity, owning your power in a positive way, sharing it with all beings being able to sort of increase and grow and connect with one another. And then equanimity, again, just getting past hatred and attachment. And just having a balanced mind. And again, not just a balanced mind, but a warm, open, friendly attitude and a caring attitude towards all beings. Now, 7 limb practice, prostrations. We can visualize ourselves making prostrations and offering praises and dharanis and signs, sort of mental signs of devotion, us and all sentient beings, to the merit field here, to Buddhist Akimoni and all holy beings. Making offerings, again, beautiful flowers in all directions, cherry blossoms, gardens. Or we can also do light offerings representing light of wisdom, wisdom realizing emptiness of Dharmakaya. So just sort of visualize almost like at twilight or sundown in our mind here. We're lighting 1,000,000 billion butter lamps or candles or Japanese lanterns, all directions here, making that light offering to all the Buddhas. Confession and rejoicing. So declaration, sort of acknowledging, owning up, standing up and owning all your faults, character flaws, problems, issues, hang-ups, dramas, so forth, that sort of even your unconscious ones, like Jung says, the ones you kind of know and the ones you don't know. So the ones you don't know are the ones the Buddhas and your teachers and your friends are definitely going to tell you about. And the whole point is we own all of these things. And we're making a commitment to all the Buddhas here. We want to get enlightened, so we want to heal all these things, let them go, outgrow them, leave them behind. And rejoicing in all the holy beings' virtues and all the virtues around the world of all different beings, the goodness in others, the goodness in ourselves. Maybe making a little bit of a vow to see the best in people rather than looking around the world seeing the worst all the time. Now holding in our hand, beautiful lion throne, square white lion throne that we sort of send up asking our root teacher and our teachers and Buddhist Akimoni, all the Buddhas to stay with us, to always be in our presence in our lives, guiding us in our lives. And then holding a 8-spoked golden Dharma chakra, we send that up. And again, asking the Buddhas, our root teacher, Buddhist Akimoni, always to teach us, always to guide us on the way to enlightenment. We can't do it alone. So always be there supporting us, giving us the teachings, giving us the guidance. And finally, dedication. Let's dedicate everything, always what we're doing towards the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all of our virtues we share and offer up to others. Okay, mandala offering. Holding a beautiful purified universe at our hearts here. Mount Mira, 4 continents, 8 subcontinents, all the Chakravartin and Emperor, Empresses, possessions, all beautiful things. Feel that this universe is sort of multiplied and sort of almost like reflections in a mirror many times out, or just it's almost like all the different galaxies in the sky. We're all visualizing them absolutely pure and beautiful and offering to the merit field here to Buddhist Akimoni and all holy beings. All the ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain, four lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land, and offer thus, may all beings enjoy such pure lands. Om Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamyatiyami. Now, just before dissolution here, let's again visualize wonderful golden lights and energies coming down as a blessing. So all this golden light going out to all sentient beings. And as we can just the golden light like sunbeams, but also just nectar and energy coming into our body, making us glow. And thinking of sort of shamanic reciprocity, where we receive blessings and guidance from the spirit world and make offerings back to thank them and to open ourselves up, which sort of creates the merit to receive this blessing. So it sort of goes around in a circle here. Now for the dissolution, we can just feel from Buddhist Akimoni's heart, from Vajradhara and Vajradhara, they start sort of sending out rainbow lights in all directions. And it starts everything to sort of melt into light. So we can just feel Lake Manasarovar and beautiful tree, Refuge Tree, start to melt into golden light, absorbing into the holy beings. Now just everyone starts to sort of melt inward into Buddhist Akimoni, so we can feel that all the Buddhas in front, all the many sort of Buddhist Bodhisattvas and Tantric Yidams and so forth, melt into golden light that dissolves into our root teacher. They become like a little star and sort of move inward and dissolve into Buddha. The compassion, wisdom gurus, all those teachers melt into Manjushri and Maitreya, who become just like little suns, balls of golden energy. And they move inward and dissolve into Buddha. And behind, all the tantric gurus dissolve into Vajradhara, and he becomes sort of a ball of blue light that starts to come forward and dissolve into Buddha. So now in the sky, just like a big moon or sun, is Buddhist Akimoni, and he starts to melt into light, golden light, and dissolve into his heart and divine couple Vajradhara and Vajradhara. So now they're in the sky like a little blue sapphire or blue diamond, radiating soft rainbow lights. And they're going to come forward and dissolve into us. So slowly they start to sort of descend, come to the crown of our head, turn around so they're facing the same direction as us. They're about a foot above us now. A blue light, and slowly they descend, enter our crown chakra and central channel, and slowly descend in front of our spine and into our heart. Once they get to our heart, again, like dropping a sugar cube in hot water, they instantly dissolve. Again, just some blue light dissolving into our root mind. Then again, it mixes perfectly, again, like water into water. All the compassion, the power, and the wisdom of the Buddhas, their clear light mind mixing with ours. We feel great, great bliss and joy and spaciousness here. And just sit for a moment with this. So now in the Jorcho meditation, they always say from this point, you just instantly self-generate as Buddhist Akimoni. So you appear the golden body, sort of main body made out of golden light, wearing the 3 robes of the monk in lotus position, holding a begging bowl from the nectar in your left hand, right hand in the subduing mudra, touching the earth. And you have a golden hum letter on a moon disk at your heart, surrounded by the mantra, Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Soha, Buddhist Shakyamuni's mantra. And golden light starts to radiate out, and then you transform all sentient beings around you into Buddhist Shakyamuni. So just like you see little sasas or Buddha statues sort of lined up, inside a stupa or even on a shelf at a store or something, you can sort of visualize that we're in this wide open plain, beautiful empty space here, blue sky above us, and there's just billions and billions and billions of Buddhas, all sentient beings, all sort of symbolically manifesting our Buddha nature in this form, Buddha Shakyamuni, all made of sort of a beautiful golden crystal light. So we're all glowing here. I'll recite the mantra. So just again, focusing on just being Buddha Shakyamuni, golden light going out in all directions, like a big bubble. And all sentient beings are doing the same thing. So again, just this sort of infinite space, like a plane, almost like a mathematical or geometric plane, almost infinite. And just like in the King of Prayers, where they say on every atom is a Buddha, just like there's Buddhas everywhere, right? And in this beautiful plane, we have these countless ourselves, and there's countless sentient beings being Buddhas, sort of sending out compassion, wisdom, and power in beautiful golden energy in all directions. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Soha. 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 So we're going to just sit with this visualization here. Okay, slowly coming out of meditation here. And just while we're here, we can just take a moment just to dedicate this meditation for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Just sort of beautiful visualization sending out to the world, place of conflict like the Ukraine, Syria, all sorts of places where there's lots of war and great suffering. We are all interconnected. Everything we do affects everybody else. So again, we're just sending this out through the web of interconnection, the web of life, all this wonderful, beautiful energy, healing energy to all beings that need help. And in particular, sending it out just in order for all beings to reach awakening. Okay, so let's go into the teachings here. We got about 20 minutes or so. And try and keep on time. I always end up the last little while going way over, so sorry about that. Anyhow, last week we were talking about refuge. There's actually quite a lot I ended up putting into that, like a lot of material. I think it just kind of it's a dog's breakfast of stuff I was just sort of dumping out. So hopefully people got something out of it, and there's a lot of information. I just wanted to, there's a couple of things I didn't say last week that I thought was good. Like we talked about the idea of what it means to take refuge, and that basically we're taking refuge all the time, kind of like whether we like it or not, whether aware of it or not. And the issue is, what are we taking refuge in? So I just have here that, basically what refuge is putting hope in an object. It's a conviction in, a commitment to the object. So the question we always have to ask ourselves is, do we have refuge? When are we taking refuge? How are we taking refuge? What are you taking refuge in? These kinds of things. And at any moment, like we said, we're always sort of diverting ourselves or taking refuge or running towards something that'll make us feel good because we feel bad. It's almost like an addiction. William Burroughs, the famous American author, always said that all desire is addiction, right? And I remember reading a good Buddhist book where they were sort of quoting him and sort of showing that so much of our human behavior around desire and attachment is always just trying to divert ourselves to feel good because we feel bad, almost kind of like an addict. And nowadays we have our whole economy is basically based almost on an addiction model, as you know, with social media and everything else, and drugs and food, and whether it's potato chips that are designed to make you eat 1 million bags of potato chips or so forth. We have this sort of diluted refuge we're always taking refuge in, trying to sort of overcome our suffering that way. Whereas from a Buddhist point of view, the real object of our refuge should be the 3 jewels. So the 2 kinds of refuge being ordinary and ultimate. And I guess this is what I was just saying here. We take refuge all the time. We think things will help us, but they won't. We think, well, we'll get things from these ordinary objects. But it's interesting, but this is something I guess Michael said here. We think we're getting refuge from ordinary objects. Really, we're getting refuge from our past karma. So that's kind of interesting, is that you can sort of take this a little deeper and see that when whatever is appearing to us is a product of our past karma, like we've talked about before in the 3 Principal Paths course, in the sense that how your experience is manifesting itself to you, how you're seeing things, of course, is a product of your karma. Things are showing up or disclosing themselves to you being a certain way. They appear as a certain object or a certain way to you, and then there's a certain affective content or mood to them. You like them, you feel a certain way about them, you like them or you don't like them, or you're neutral, you kind of don't care. So our experience is the result or projection of our past karma, the seeds we've all planted in the past. So you can think that when we're going for refuge to things, we actually think these things are going to give us a certain happiness that we're looking for. But technically, whatever we're getting is from our karma, from our past karma, would it be good or bad or whatever. And so technically, we want to make sure that we're always sort of ripening the good kind of karma, I guess, and planting the good kinds of seeds. Refuge, having a good mind of refuge in the 3 jewels, you're planting good karma, so that when you have that attitude of going for refuge, of wanting shelter, of wanting happiness, of wanting protection in your life, you want the good kind of karma ripening to actually give that to you, And that's how in your refuge commitments, you see that one of the benefits of taking refuge is you get real protection, is you don't purifies karma. It creates a lot of virtuous energy and so forth. In true refuge in the three jewels ends up giving you the real protection that you're looking for. In particular, like I said, the real protection we're looking for is an experience or understanding of emptiness. That's what allows us, and you can see this, that even having an idea of lojong, or sort of a mind transformation where you're making lemonade out of lemons, even having the understanding of emptiness, that things are mutable, are transformable, that itself is a real medicine or a panacea. When you're in a bad situation, you're having a lot of suffering, you could think things don't have to be this way, things are impermanent, they change. I know I have control over my mind, how I choose to see things. As we know that that's a real help when we go through suffering, a real medicine. I added a little footnote in here, is of course just a sort of a good quote here. Of course, our experience is an effect, it's not a cause. How we react to it is a cause. So what's coming at you is your past. How are you reacting to it is your future, like we've said. So the famous, one of my favorite philosophers, Baruch Spinoza, in the 1600s, he always said a lot of the main suffering we get in life is that everything we see is an effect, not a cause. And so we're always taking responsibility for things, always thinking everything is the way it is, like we're changing it, but really everything is coming at you. What you're seeing is an effect. So we always get it sort of almost like ass backwards, so to speak. And that he said, if we can see how we're determined by our past, that allows us to understand why we are where we are, what's happening to us. So the great quote, Spinoza, I'm paraphrasing, I'd have to actually look up the actual quote, but it goes something like this. And I know a lot of people, other philosophers quote it, where it's, don't cry, don't rage, understand. Don't cry, don't rage, understand, right? So taking real refuge in a lot of ways is, again, taking refuge in emptiness and karma. And that alone is a refuge where, again, not raging, not crying, understanding. It's like, okay, this comes from karma. Like if I'm going through this situation right now, this isn't a mystery. This isn't some sort of God's punishment on me. This isn't an accident of history, blah, 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 blah. This is my karma. And so from past lives, I can take responsibility for it. It takes sort of that sense of injustice out of it, which can lead to a lot of suffering, right, in ourselves. Okay, and then the other two, they say you can take refuge according to 3 different scopes of LamRim. In the sense, I can take refuge as an intermediate, an initial scope being, which means I want to take refuge to have a good death and good rebirth. I can take refuge in the intermediate scope of LamRim, where it's my main thing is to get enlightened in terms of reaching nirvana. Or I can take refuge in a way where all my refuge in my practice and my whole view is the great Mahayana scope, where I'm trying to get enlightened to be a Buddha for the welfare of all beings, to help them get enlightened. And finally, to conclude, 2 kinds of refuge is what they call cause refuge and result refuge. So causal refuge, so to speak, is taking refuge in the qualities that have been achieved in another. So for instance, an enlightened being. So causal refuge, and this is in a lot of ways is by this ends up helping me get enlightened as a cause, is I take refuge in the wonderful qualities Buddhas have, like that Buddhas serve as an example for me to emulate and for me to want to become. So this is the most common form of refuge, you could say, is that, this again is sort of laying down my path to enlightenment, is I look at the Buddha as an example, as almost, in a Freudian sense, where they call it this sort of object A is the cause of desire, so to speak, in the sense that this example is motivating me to emulate the example, to become the example itself. I see Buddhas, I know their qualities, it's motivating me, I'm taking refuge in them, I'm creating all the karma so I'll be like them one day. And then the resultant refuge is I take refuge in my own future Buddhahood, in the sense, what I'm taking refuge in this way is I'm taking refuge in my future self as enlightened. So if this sounds familiar, this is how Tantra works, in the sense that we're taking the result into the path, into the cause. In other words, this is my own future self. It's almost like time travel. My own future self in the future is coming back to me right now to say, hey, guess what, Matthew, in 25 years, you're going to be enlightened. You're going to be me. Keep at it. Don't stop. Keep going. You're doing great. It's like, wow. And this sort of motivates me to keep going, right? So anytime I'm doing Tantra, this is what Tantra is that I visualize myself or act as a Buddha right now. And this creating the karma of acting like a Buddha right now lays down the path and the steps to actually make myself as a Buddha, right? So this is one thing I always remember, you know, one of our Dharma friends, Pedro and I, we were sort of joking about this following, you know, one of Geshe Michael's teachings or something, is that how Tantra allows you to get enlightened quicker is by seeing yourself as a Buddha, you end up acting like a Buddha. You end up keeping your vows better. So if I see myself as Matthew and act like Matthew, I'm a jerk and have issues and whatever, all traumas. And so most of the karma I'm laying down on a day-to-day basis is kind of crappy. So I'm just keeping myself still in samsara with all the sort of appearances that are coming to me. But if I'm always Green Tara or Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara or Haruka or Yamantaka or something, Yamantaka is always good, is always peaceful, always blissful, always keeping their vows. So the karma I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, visualizing myself as that Buddha, is always being good. So I'm moving myself along the path a lot quicker. And that's how, quote unquote, resultant refuge happens, right? So that's in a lot of ways, very, very profound way of taking refuge. And so, yeah, I mean, this is, anyway, I think that that's a good way of looking at it. Okay, so now just that was the refuge part. That was the stuff I actually wanted to talk about last week. But as you can see, we had a lot to talk about. So now, just as a little list here, the 8 qualities of Buddhahood. This is sort of this week's sort of teaching here. So when you get enlightened, these are, again, this can sort of serve as a cause refuge in the sense that once you know these 8 qualities of what it means to be a Buddha, or the qualities you have as a Buddha, this can motivate you to want to get enlightened. So you have these same qualities yourself. So out of 8 qualities of Buddha, first one, Buddha is uncaused. Okay, Buddha is uncaused. And what they mean by this is that a Buddha's Dharmakaya, or wisdom truth body, or their enlightened mind, is empty and is the same as yours. So on that level, a Buddha's mind is the same as yours. This is kind of like your Buddha nature. I mean, what's interesting, and this is why Tantra means continuity, like a string or a thread, in the sense that how you're able to become this amazing being like a Buddha. You're just your regular Joe Blow, you know, organic being that's born, grows a little while, and starts to fall apart, gets sick and dies. That's how you are now, your meat sack. But how do you become this immortal, gorgeous, angelic being made of pure light or energy? I think it's like a difference in kind. How could I ever be that? Well, technically, at the center of yourself is that divine spark or potential, which is the same thing. And that's number one, is that your mind is empty, just like a Buddha's mind. One of the 4 bodies of a Buddha is called the nature body or entity body, Svabhavakikaya. And that body is basically just the emptiness of a Buddha's body and mind. And so on that level, as emptiness, my mind and a Buddhist mind are the same. And also Buddhist mind, in terms of the Dharmakaya part of their mind is clear and cognizing, just like my mind, just like my dog's mind, just like a cat's mind, just like a bird's mind. All minds are based for sentient beings are the same. They're just a sheer openness. They're just clarity, clear awareness that has no quality. So our mind is the same of that. A Buddha's mind is the same on that level, on a conventional level, and on an ultimate level, they're both empty. So our Buddha nature is the same. So you start to think, wow, just me and the Buddhas be on one level, on this ultimate level, this deep level, we're exactly the same. What's different? Well, all the energies and karmas around that, or quote unquote embodiment, is different. That's the path that has to sort of purify all that and change all that. That's where we talk about replacing our 5 contaminated, dirty meat sack, body bag aggregates with the 5 enlightened aggregates of a Buddha, which are the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. But the one aggregate is the same, our consciousness aggregate. The Akshobhya Buddha family is the same for us. That one aggregate, that's the link That's the continuity there that we talk about in Tantra. We meet on that one level of our consciousness aggregate is the same. Okay, number 2, Buddha is spontaneous. So Buddha's bodies are like reflections of moon in the water. That's what you see in all the traditional examples. So in other words, when a sentient being is ready to meet the Buddha will effortlessly and spontaneously appear in whatever most helpful form they need to be to meet that sentient being. So that's part of the Nirmanakaya function of a Buddha, is the what they call avatar or tulku body, is that Buddhas are manifesting billions of bodies at any moment, appearing to sentient beings in whatever way they need to be able to teach them Dharma and motivate them on the path. So we can think that, I mean, literally, you don't know who's a Buddha, like the person being mean to you in public at 7-Eleven, or your mom, or a beautiful sunset, or someone helping you in public, or a nice dog that when you're depressed comes up and wags his tail and meets you at the park. You don't know all these Buddhas manifesting in that way to sort of open your heart, move you along the way. And we might even think in this lifetime, you can think of the different causes that led you to become a Buddhist, that it might be someone your best friend told you about, or you took a course in school, or you read a book. That book would almost count as an emanation body of the Buddhas. Like you can think back, like, how did I end up here on a Saturday morning, listen to this old guy Matthew rant on about Buddhism? Like, what's the causal chain here? Like, in a sense that what and then even backing up, like you can think even as a kid, little experiences you had. That's all your positive karma, of course, ripening, but it's also Buddhas meeting you kind of halfway to teach you and to bless you and to move you along. And they've been with you this whole life. They're with you right now. That's all they're doing. And it's spontaneously happening. When you need them to be there to move up a level or move, they're there helping you along the way to give you exactly what you need to self-realize. So that's a quality. Once you become a Buddha, that's what you're going to be doing 24/7. That's your job. That's all you're going to be doing, is spontaneously helping all sentient beings that way. Quality 3, realized by no other way. And this means that you cannot perceive a Buddha's Dharmakaya conceptually. Of course, a Buddha's enlightened mind is can only perceive by another Buddha. So it's kind of funny. This is why we don't even know who's a Tulku or Nirmanakaya emanation or not. I mean, some of them like, oh, it's Holiness Dalai Lama or Thich Nhat Hanh or whatever. That might sort of be a little more obvious, but we really don't know. Like anyone could be a Buddhist body. And then the Sambhogakaya level of a Buddhist body, you can only perceive that if you realize emptiness. You're an Arya Bodhisattva at that point, because those Buddhas bodies never leave their Pure Lands or their Buddha universes. So you have to be able to kind of like astrally or psychically travel or go there in a vision to see them. And that's when you actually, you go to Ulacode, you see Green Tara. Oh my God, she's made out of green light like a big emerald. And there's all rainbows shooting out of her. What you have to be a really realized being to be able to have that experience. If I just dream of Green Tara in my dream, that's a Nirmanakaya. I'm just speaking for myself, not an Arya Bodhisattva. But the wisdom truth body of a Buddha, which is basically their omniscient mind perceiving the true truth simultaneously, where they perceive emptiness directly, non-conceptually, and all objects in the universe simultaneously and individually at the same time. That's what a Buddha's Dharmakaya mind is. Only a Buddha can see that. That to us is absolutely inconceivable. Like the idea that right now, imagine if we're a Buddha, we're perceiving all objects simultaneously, differentially, and at the same time. So but at the same time, we see only empty states of emptiness at the same time. So we see every sentient being, all their karma, we're loving them, helping, teaching Dharma. At the same time, we see all their objects. This is all happening simultaneously, and we're all emanating bodies at each moment, each second, billions of bodies teaching the Dharma. So that's a Buddha. So you can't, like for us, we can barely even approach that conceptually or metaphorically. Like this is why people use analogies or poetry or metaphors to talk about that. Buddhists don't have a conceptual mind. They don't deal in sort of limited images and stuff. This is all done directly. So we can't perceive that directly. We just, have our theories and so forth. Number 4, Buddha has knowledge. In other words, a Buddha is aware of our suffering condition. Of course, that's their whole point. They don't see inherent existence and they don't suffer, but they see us suffering. It's almost like they see us under the influence or drugs or hallucinations, hurting ourselves and so forth. They see that part. They're motivated by their bodhicitta to help. Number 5 is Buddha has love. In other words, they care about you directly. Number 6, a Buddha has power. In other words, a Buddha can do something about it. So if they know, number 4 has knowledge, number 5 has love, and number 6 out of the 8 qualities of Buddhahood has power. So they have knowledge, they have compassion, they have power. So in other words, they know you're suffering, they see you're suffering, they love you, and they want to do something about that suffering. The Buddhists have the power to do something about that suffering. Now here's the question: what can they do about it? They can't take your suffering away, obviously, because if they could, they would have already. We wouldn't be doing this class together. We'd be in some kind of Buddha Pure Land sliding down a rainbow or something like that, right? That's clearly, I mean, every Buddhist teacher, Rinpoche said this, all Lamas always say this, is that if Buddhists could cure your suffering, they would have done it already. Buddhist Akimoni would have done it, or Jesus Christ or Lao Tzu or all these great masters would have done it. The very fact that they haven't done it shows that they can't do it, right? They can't do it, otherwise they would have done it. So what can they do? They can't take away your suffering, but they can teach you. They can teach you to take your own suffering away. So that's basically all a Buddha can do. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you think about it, that's all they can do. They can just teach you how to take your suffering away. So Buddhists, like I always say, you probably don't, but you probably don't remember the cartoon, the Care Bears, right, from the 1980s. Anyway, if you watch they always have the Care Bears and they shoot rainbows up their tummy and, whatever. This is an age-old cartoon, but you could sort of, I don't want to say Buddhists are like the Care Bears, but if you see them, they're always intervening and just helping people help themselves. And a big part of them is just cheerleading, right? You can do it, you can do it. But technically, Buddhists are kind of the same way in the sense that they're blessing you. They're always inspiring you and being an example and telling you you can do it and helping you discover your potentialities and power. And then they're teaching you how to do it. They're guiding you. But you have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself. And that's why, like, even when Buddha Shakyamuni died, right, at 80 years old or whatever, his last words were, of course, is all compounded phenomena are permanent and work out your salvation with diligence. In other words, everything is empty. You got to do it. You got to do it. I'm dying, showing the emptiness of even the Buddha. I'm passing away. And guess what? You got to do it, right? So that's why there's no, and like they say in psychoanalysis, no big other function in Buddhism, in the sense no one else is going to do this for you. So I always say, when you see garbage or litter, that's like an appeal to the big other. I've left my bag of dog dirt, dog crap I'm hoping someone else will put this in the garbage for me, right? That's humans. We're all like that, where we're appealing to someone else to do the work for us. Of course, Buddhism, by being atheistic in the sense that you're asking, no God, no one else does it. You have to do it yourself. So all a Buddha can do is teach. That's the power of the Buddhists. And that's why I always like to say is that there's such an emphasis in Buddhism put on teaching and treating your Dharma texts well, treating language well, speech well, seeing the holiness of speech, seeing the throat chakra being important. Is because all Buddhas have to reach you with is language. All they have to, that's the bridge between you and them, is them talking to you, to them teaching you. going to teachings, the importance of being a good student, the importance of being a good teacher, the importance of being a student teacher, one day becoming a teacher, and this is an oral lineage of energy and inspiration, but also teaching, because that's all they can do. Okay, last two, which is the Buddha has satisfied their needs and others' needs. So they've satisfied their own needs, they will satisfy other needs. They are totally available and capable to teach us. That's the idea, that how do they satisfy their own needs? Well, they're fully enlightened. They know how to make themselves completely happy by understanding emptiness and karma, dependent origination being karma, and that being empty, showing its emptiness, the two truths. And that's what they teach us. That allows us to find true happiness and peace. So there you go. That's the 8 qualities of enlightenment. That's technically what it means to be enlightened. When people say all the time, we always say, oh, I want to get enlightened, I want to get enlightened. So what does it actually mean to get enlightened? What does that word actually mean? Well, it means a being, becoming in a being that can do all those things. That can do all those things. And when you get enlightened, doing your tantric practice and so forth, that's what you do. You sort of graduate. It's almost like everyone's going through school here of samsara. You graduate, then you become the teacher at your high school teaching. It's like, hey, I used to be like you in grade 5 here as a little kid, and now I'm the teacher teaching the grade 5 classes. It's the same thing. I'm the Buddha in samsara, helping all sentient beings get out in the same way Buddhists helped me get out of this. Okay, there we go, 9:05. It's a little bit over, but I'd like to sort of finish there. And next week, the teachings are going to be on bodhicitta. There's quite a bit of material actually on that, which is good. And it's bodhicitta in terms of how to classify it in terms of the 5 paths of enlightenment. I guess you could say how you get enlightened, or sort of the 5 paths that you're on, from path of accumulation all the way to enlightenment being no more learning. What does that mean in terms of bodhicitta? So that's next week. Okay, so thanks very much for coming. And we'll have another question and answer class in a few sessions at the very end. It'll be wide open forum, and you can, if you have questions. Of course, if you always have questions, you can just interrupt me and whatever. I know I'm always talking a mile a minute here, but you can just put your hand up and ask. Otherwise, we'll be able to take it up in a question answer class soon. Okay, so just taking a moment to dedicate all this merit and all our good karma and virtue. So we can say blessings of all Buddhas, their inspiration, their care to us, the truth of karma, and the power of pure spirit intention, and bodhicitta. And all of our dharma wishes be fulfilled, and all sentient beings get enlightened. Okay, let's press stop here.